Hi, everyone. I'm already laughing a little bit before we even started because some of you have already started talking about if you can hear or not. So I guess that is the first question, as ever. Can you hear me? I'm very much hoping the answer is yes. I'm enjoying that it's become a bit of a meme at this point, but it's a very important and valid question. So, how is everybody during your day, night, evening, whatever it is? We have a bunch to talk about, which is exciting. We have more Substacks to take a look at. Well, only one tonight, but I just have to say, Substack is where it's at. It's if you're interested in quotes and just things that people are saying, it's very interesting to go and check out. We're going to be looking at Tom Breevort's because it's been making the rounds, or rather, excerpts of it have been making the rounds, and it intrigued me. I just kept seeing snippets of things from articles or titles from other videos and the like of, oh, like Marvel doesn't care about canon and all of these things. It was linking back to this one Substack, and I wanted it can't be that bad. Then I read it, I was like, oh, I see. I see. But I think it's important to take a look at it inside of its own context, because just separating those couple of answers, discussing some of the canon elements, I think you need the whole thing. So I thought it'd be fun to go through some of that. I of course have the solicits as well, so there's going to be a lot of reading tonight, which I'm very excited for. Multiple drinks on the side. One is coffee and snacks, because who knows. Who knows how long it's going to take, especially after last time, even though they had about an equal amount of solicits. I was looking into it. It's just that Marvel's were longer on the whole in terms of how they were written. There was multiple sentences, paragraphs. So there's a lot to get to. So firstly, what is everybody reading? What is everybody up to? Today is Monday. If my days are holding correctly. So how is everybody's Monday? Also, I see that someone here is called the Monarch of Menace, which is fantastic. I very much enjoyed talking about the Monarch of Menace. Also enjoyed talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. I got to post the video about their first fight today, and I'm looking at some other Deadpool stuff, and it's fun. I know a lot of people are burnt out of Deadpool, but it's kind of reignited some of my love, and I've got to bust open my Deadpool mini bus and a bunch of those things, so that's been fun. There's just always so many things to take a look at and be reading. So much coming out, a lot of new things starting in the post summer and early fall. So there's a lot, as I like to say, but in a good way. That's a good thing. That is a very good thing. Yeah, a lot of people keep talking to me, Alexander, about Cable and Deadpool because I keep mentioning that I am rereading it, and I still am. I'm just at the part before the Civil War tie-ins where their relationship crumbles and it goes into what even in the comic it calls a divorce and all of that stuff, and then slowly it stops being rather Cable and Deadpool and transitions into mostly being Deadpool, but for the first little bit where it's really more of a joint thing, I really, really enjoy all of it. It's interesting. It's an interesting run. And it's always interesting to revisit and see how you feel about things later on. It's something I like to do anyway. To have two screens. That's why the light is changing as we go and look at the different things. So I'm excited to talk to you about this canon thing because if you've been here for a while, then you know that I very much enjoy canon continuity. I think it is the glue that holds things together, what keeps people invested. It's very rewarding. I think that sometimes people can get a bit too pedantic about it as well. That is true. But that on the whole, if wielded correctly, it's a strength of the medium and not a cage or a shackles or anything like that. So I'm always intrigued to see other points of view, and it also always pushes up against mine. So I like that. I like to challenge and see what I think and if it holds and all of that jazz. So I'm going to pull it up. And I have to say that I love this Substack a lot because it reminds me a lot of the old letters columns that they had. It's very much, if you ask Tom Breevort a question, he's going to answer it, and I appreciate that. And that's always been going on since back in the forum days. You might not like the answer, but you're going to get one. And so that is very, very cool. So I haven't decided if I'm going to go through every single one of these. I might, because I feel like, or at least the majority, before we get down to the salient question, that's the one that's being pulled out the most. Because these questions and how they're answered, they are pertinent to the bottom questions. So this is like a bunch of people. So the way this newsletter works for this part is it's him answering questions that people ask. And it also has a vibe of the old school letters columns, because sometimes people will talk to each other. Like they'll be rebutting a previous question from a previous week or something like that. So you've got that kind of attitude. So a lot of these questions do pertain to Canon and what's going on. And just one little more bit of backstory before we dive into it, and why this is kind of being pulled out as this moment a little bit, is because this is coming from an editor, a longtime editor, a high up editor, and also an editor who's about to take over the X line. And this is why it's important, because a lot of the questions are going to pertain to the X-Men line, which is about to do this massive From the Ashes relaunch that is going to have a bunch of books together that one would assume would need to tie in with continuity. So we're going to see what you think after you hear all of this. All right, let's go. So let's start with some nice, just easing in questions, like this one. The question about destroying characters from Brandon Giles brought up Beast's heel turn during the Krakoa era, and made me remember another heel turn that seemed rather strange to me when it happened. Phil Coulson joining Mephisto during Jason Aaron's Avengers run. Do you remember why Coulson was chosen as the bad guy? As an editor, how do you know when a heel turn or face turn will work for a character, and when it might be better to leave them where they are? So the other thing here is that people got good questions. These are some solid questions. That's a nice, solid question. So let us see. The answer here is, well, Brandon, bolded. The truth is that Phil Coulson was at that point dead, having perished during Secret Empire. So Jason picking up on him from that status quo, given that he was going to function as a tool of Mephisto's, made a lot of sense. Plus, it was Jason Aaron, whom I think has a good track record of treating characters well for the most part. I certainly trusted him to do so, and figured that I was in a position to say something if I thought he was taking anything too far. But that never became necessary. As I said before, in order to keep things interesting for the audience, you need to be willing to smash up the toys a bit from time to time. So you see, we got a nice, solid answer. Everything was explained as to what's going on. So far, this is why nobody's pulling anything from this one. But note that, because it is acknowledged here in this answer that, yes, Canon's a thing, we're acknowledging it, but sometimes you got to be willing to shake things up, which I think is a fair statement. Sometimes you gotta play with things a bit, but then the question is how far? How far is too far? That's always the interesting thing. So, all right. So now we have a really nice, just like canon-y question, which is from Allison Cabot. Is Namor still considered a mutant? Now, you see, this is a really valid question coming to him, seeing as how he's going to be the editor of the X line. If so, can we expect him to interact with the core X-Men in this new era? Namor is and always will be a mutant, Allison, but he's in prison following the end of Jason Aaron's run of Avengers, where he turned himself in for his crimes against humanity. We'll be picking up on this situation in the upcoming Namor series that Jason is doing with artist Paul Davison and Alex Linz, but it's going to be more about laying out a cosmology for these sordid undersea realms than dealing with anything particularly mutant related. Okay, so here we go. See, nice. There we go. Now we have just a kind of fun question, which is talking about their favorite sport and all of that. This one got pulled out a little bit later on than the other answer, which is just talking about why they didn't address COVID inside of the Marvel universe, which it is a decently interesting answer, but it doesn't pertain to what we're really talking about in terms of the canonicity of various things in the Marvel universe. But if you want to read it, we can come back and take a look at it in a minute. So here's Tobias Carroll with another type of question asking, do you see any parallels between editing the Avengers titles, which is what he was editing before, in the aftermath of Secret Wars, and editing the X books in the aftermath of Krakoa? Again, this is a really great question because they are two like big world-altering events, canon-altering events? And if so, is there anything you learned from the former that you've applied to the latter? Not really, no, Tobias. To me, editing Avengers after Secret Wars is really no different than editing it before. There's a bit more of a sea change with X-Men in that there's a clear demarcation of the status quo from one era to the other. Even if a reader is unaware of the editorial shift, they're going to see that. All right, so now we're getting into some meaty questions. I don't even mean actual sales numbers, but I remember when Marvel Age would publish a top 10 Marvel sellers list so we knew what the top books were without copies specified. Would Marvel do this again? I don't know that we would in a vacuum without a good reason, JV. I don't know that it's anything that anybody among the general public needs to know. I mean, we don't need to know a lot, but I want to know because I'm curious. I'm very, very curious. Well, this is a long. Okay, so this question I think was the most, or statement question combo was the most interesting as it pertains to where things are going to do a bit of a flip in talking about canon. Because so far, what we've got is that yes, it's there. Yes, we need to pay attention to it and all of that jazz. But we're about to have a bit of a flip. So let's see. After Ray's, my girlfriend and I were talking about Krakoa. I'm doing a big Krakoa Marvel Unlimited reread to prepare for your taking over the books. And she asked me, so if Peter Parker had a kid, would that kid be a mutant? And I said, no, I don't think so. Because in the other realities, when Peter had a kid, the kid had powers, but wasn't a mutant. Since the powers aren't really different from the parents, it's not really a mutation. And she said, but what about Cyclops and Jean Grey? Cable's powers aren't the same as theirs, but he's a mutant. And then I realized, how does that work? When a kid of superpowered parents has powers, when do we consider that kid a mutant? I know the real answer, whatever makes for a better story, a la the changes in Franklin Richards over the last few years. But what's the criteria in Earth 616 in storyline? This, again, this is such a nerdy, wonderful question. I love this question so much. This is just such a deep nerd question. So, okay, let's see our answer. Over the years, Ray, being a mutant in the Marvel Universe has been defined as possessing the X gene that allows for all sorts of ridiculous and crazy powers. So if Spidey's child inherited his abilities, but didn't have the X gene, then they wouldn't be a mutant. But if they did have it, then they would. So what we need to note about this answer is not whether or not you agree with how we're going to separate mutants and mutates, but the fact that this is an answer that very much is playing along the lines of there is a firm canon and we will adhere to it. So let's keep a note of that. I noticed that all of you are just answering Ray. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Cable does have the same powers. All of you are just roasting Ray. Listen, Ray had a really solid question, though. This is a good, like, the core question. Oh. Elthador is saying, when is a superpowered child a mutant? When they're in an X book. Okay. This is just a fun, like, spelling mistake. I find it fun. Spelling mistake thing. There's a Cameron's asking about social media, which I just think is an interesting question because for those of us who are online a lot, it factors in a bit more. But you mentioned how a few of the upcoming X writers have different approaches to social media. Is social media presence or influence something Marvel editorial factors in when casting or considering potential writers? No, not really, Cameron. I'm looking for writers who can bring something to the page and to the stories. That was a nice turn of phrase, to the page. Nothing else. And honestly, I haven't seen any real evidence that having a strong social media profile necessarily equates to great sales or the reverse either. Broken bath scene. All right, so now here we are. Here's where it starts to turn a bit with Thomas. Please tell me you and your team have a plan in place in your future stories to counter it and show that the broken bath scene is not what we think it is, because I know you and your team have both the talent / creative skills to pull it off. Plus, also, I want to believe in your interpretation of the whole thing. Seeing in comics evidence, whether in the main books or in the Infinity comics, solidifying your point of view going forward would be nice. This conversation has been going on for a couple of weeks now, though. So I'm hopeful that this will be the last word on it for the moment, even though not everybody is reading this Substack. Though I fear that it won't, because not everybody is reading this Substack. But I'm not going to waste one iota of storytelling space on relitigating stories from years ago. I don't feel any need to do some sort of reversal to Ben's scene from that X-Force issue after so much time has passed. The number of people for whom that's relevant is small and scant. Sass. It isn't keeping most readers up at night. Rather, we'll simply move ahead into the future. If there's some future point where some writer wants to address it and it feels like a natural part of the story, that's fine. But my job isn't to fix, and there's quotes around it so you know that it's salty, earlier stories. It's to tell new ones. So that's where the emphasis will be. So this is where it got really interesting to me, which was not around the idea of what they're talking about with Broken Bath or anything, which I'm not entirely sure about. What I'm more interested in is the concept of fixing old stories. And do you feel that some of the irking is coming around the idea that it would be fixing them? Because there are some stories, when you look back at past continuity in anything, where it doesn't make sense or flow, and it would make sense to maybe go and adjust. But there seems to be some salt towards the idea that you must only look forward and that nobody really cares. So I find that interesting. So what do you think of that idea? Is the goal to like only go forward and only look at some things that people feel are broken or need fixing if they come up again? Or is it something you don't need to worry about unless, I guess, the right number of people are bothered by it? Because that seems to be what it implies. Or does it depend entirely upon the situation? But you see, it's interesting. And I like that there's emotion in this answer. Alexander says, Googling Broken Bath only brings up this Substack post. Is the Broken Bath real? I should write in. Be like, what's Broken Bath? Ooh, that would be so annoying for him because he already said that I hope that nobody brings it up again. Just, what is Broken Bath? This is the scene with Jean and Logan, right? You're probably the closest person, Potato Evolution, to guessing what that is. You know, it might be. Are we talking about the throuple thing? Because this might be what's going on here. I have that post too, where he said that there was no evidence on the page that a throuple was even happening, which could only have happened if you weren't reading the page. And that's not about whether you like the idea of a Logan, Scott, Jean throuple or not, but to come out and say that there was nothing on the page. Come on now. If you want to walk it back, you can walk it back, but don't be like it never happened. Okay. Now, Sian McGarvey has an interesting question as well. Beast has had a wild 2 decades, from pretending to be gay in Morrison's New X-Men to basically violating every individual section of the Geneva Convention in X-Force. His slow moral decline has been an incredible sight, where a collection of writers' individual decisions, with stuff such as pulling the O5 from the past to teach Scott a lesson, and other moments of moral slippage, creating a saga of a man who simply cannot stop going lower. My questions are, how do you feel about this seemingly accidental saga? Do you have any specific thoughts on Beast's long-term morality issues? Am I completely misled here, and this was actually on some level intentional through all the writers and editors that had the line? And also, to face the future, will current Beast, who's been pulled out from his Avengers days with Wonder Man, have to deal with the sins his future/past self committed, but that he himself is arguably innocent of? Personally, I hope so, as I feel it has to be fertile ground for great story stuff. It was intentional. See, this is why I love this newsletter. Isn't it just like looking back at all of those old letters columns from the Silver Age? Just the entire energy. It's here. It's here in this. Insofar as those creators who were involved with those stories chose to make those decisions, whether they felt they were building on earlier work or not, and now today they are a fact. So they'll come along with the character as he moves forward, and they'll come up with, and if they are relevant to what is going on with him today. Certainly, Jed MacKay hasn't overlooked any of this in terms of his handling of Henry and X-Men. So another thing that's notable here is that you get to see the types of questions that are asked, and you get to ask yourself a question. Could you keep your chill? Would this bother you if you were constantly being asked questions like this? Could you keep your chill when responding? Or would some sass energy start to proliferate into your responses, do you think? Because you know that this is just a few. People still like if you offer people the chance to write in, they will write. So okay, this was where this question this answer got to me. It's from Yo-Yo. Are there any plans for Scott and Jean to have their own baby? Same universe kids, not alternate universe kids or kids with clones. No plans for that at the moment, Yo-Yo. In general, I think that it's usually a bad idea for superheroes to have kids. If nothing else, it ages them and makes them feel more like, well, your parents rather than you. So I'm never in a real rush to give anybody more children. Shots fired. Officer down. So what I got from that is that I'm ancient and my life is over. 3 kids. I should just dig my own grave and roll into it. But from a storytelling perspective, I think it really depends on which character we're talking about. Not the kid marriage, whatever we're doing trajectory is not for every character. But the idea that automatically it makes them old and unrelatable and the kids can't relate to them, also it made me ask the question, what are the Dems? I need to see the Dems now. What are the ages? Are all the people who are reading this hip young youths who can't connect with anybody with kids? But it also made me ask the question of, but if the story is well written, you can still connect with the character, even if they're living a different life than you. That's part of the excitement of storytelling. If there was a very legitimate in-universe reason of no, because we have this plan and this plan for them, but just the idea of nah, it makes them old and nobody likes old people. I don't know. This answer has never landed with me, and this is not an uncommon mindset that you'll see in a certain level of editorial from a certain age and era across both Marvel and DC. It's just I think that if written correctly, and I am biased, obviously, for I like to think that my life did not end and I did not become unrelatable when I had my children, that if you write an interesting story, it can still be an engaging part of it and that it can still be fun and interesting and that you can incorporate them into the adventures. It doesn't just have to be it's just harder. The thing is that then you have more balls in the air to juggle and have to organize. And I suppose from an editorial perspective that could be irritating. And then also at some point you're inevitably going to reach I think it's time to soap opera age these kids up, which is going to be a thing. And this is going to tie in to the next question because there are lots of questions about kids and age. And this seems to be where the annoyance comes in. And this is very fascinating because before this, it was perfectly fine to answer questions about Beast or what people were doing in certain parts of canon and addressing it. But now that it's something that is rankling, it seems, his personal sensibilities, now it's time to throw the canon out. And this is something you'll find with canon a lot. It matters till it doesn't, depending upon what people are talking about, what they want to keep, what they don't want to keep. So it's very, very fascinating. So now we got another big one from Steve McSheffy. I like this question too. I just find these really interesting. What can I say? I find this fascinating. Where do you stand with making Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch Magneto's kids again? Yes. It was an exciting move back when it happened, but the go-to stories around the twins always seem to revolve around daddy issues. Worse, Pietro went from being a jerk like Hawkeye to somehow always being doomed to break bad like his father. Like the Pym slap, every time someone run writer cleared the decks and made Pietro unabashedly good, soon another writer would lazily go there again. By the way, my secret wish is we find out Pym was replaced by a Skrull before the slap, since no writer's efforts to redeem Pym or move past one of only 2 big events in his publishing history have always failed. Oh my goodness. I have the same stance on a lot of these issues, Steve. Leave the ball where it lays. and this is the one, like, this is part of the one that gets pulled. Having done convoluted stories to separate Wanda and Pietro's backstories from Magneto's, I don't know that it serves anybody to try to do another convoluted story to attempt to put that back the other way again. It is what it is. Now we move on. The same goes for Lorna Dane being Magneto's daughter and Franklin Richards not being a mutant or Cloak and Dagger. Wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are. So we'll move ahead without a need to try to overturn the board again in an attempt to recapture something that wasn't even all that important to the characters on a story-by-story basis in the first place, for the most part. So let's, before we move on to Hank, I think that there is a lot to break down there. So how do we feel about the idea that whether or not Lorna, Pietro, and Wanda are Magneto's kids, or whether Franklin Richards is a mutant or not, is important or not to the character? Or is the idea here that if something isn't important on a story by story basis, it can be left out? But there are things that aren't necessarily be mentioned on a story by story basis, but they create part of the overarching backbone of the character. So they're still important. I would argue that whether Franklin is a mutant or not is incredibly important and has been for a long time. And even if it is convoluted, I don't know. I think why not? If we were going to be convoluted, then we can do it again and change it back. The story could be good and convoluted. That's a possibility. I just personally, and mileage will vary and does vary, I just fundamentally disagree. I think that there are lots of just sitting details that, even if they're not constantly mentioned, are still important, and that there are some details that rise to the top as being the preferred or dominant or end game kind of canons, and that if you have the chance or an opportunity to do it, why not put things back in a way that kind of makes things make sense, even though of course nothing is ever going to entirely slot into everything because you have such a long history and you're never going to please absolutely everybody, but you can create something that's pretty solid if it's what you're interested in. Again, isn't this a fascinating read? Isn't this fascinating? Let's talk about Hank. And there were Hank time. And there were people who hoped to reveal that Hank had been a Skrull for that long. The problem there being that I don't believe that you can tell the audience that the past 40 years of stories featuring the character that they read weren't about him. Even though we've done it before, we'll do it again. They're simply not going to go along with you on that. Plus, Hank's action was so visceral and so relatable for so many readers that trying to scrub him of responsibility for his actions never takes. The audience as a whole isn't willing to buy that it was Kang's mental influence over him or whatever. And I don't think they'd buy the Skrull defense either. Also, that although that's not what everybody says. They talk about his mental illness and whether that should be factored in, or they don't really talk Kang. It also doesn't help that modern audiences it also doesn't help that modern audiences tend to conflate MU Hank with Ultimate Hank, who is far more an aggressive abuser. But you can't reason yourself out of the way people feel. Do people conflate those two? Do people think about 616 Hank and think about the Hank that tried to spray like Janet with the bug spray and tried to sick all the ants on her and stuff? I don't know. I don't, but I know I'm not everyone. So and this, okay, now we're at Joel. And this is the one that gets clipped and pulled, and this is the one that is making the rounds. But I feel like it was important to read everything leading up to Joel to show that there, even inside of this, there's a bit of a disconnect onto the idea of how canon should work, because it's in play and important for certain things, and for other things, it's just leave it alone. You are where you are. What did he say? Hold on, I need to read that again. This is wherever you go, there you are. That statement's so fascinating to me because there's an underlying current of like the past is the past. There's nothing you can do about it. And like the idea of like, yes, you can move, but you can move forward, and moving forward from a narrative perspective can involve looking back at the past stories and doing things with them. I don't agree. Daniel, thank you very much. Mutant and proud, Franklin. Mutant and proud. I love Mutant Franklin, and it was indeed quite important. It was very, very important. And the funny thing about that, about having that sentence about it not being that important, is that just a few answers earlier, there was a detailed answer as to whether or not a child would or wouldn't be a mutant from Peter. So, just fascinating. Fascinating stuff. Fish boy, thank you very much. We can't undo it now. Tell that to Peter and MJ. Well, I mean, I feel like that's what they saying. That is what they are saying to Peter and MJ. All right, let's get to Joel, because Joel is the question. Joel Zorba, a few years ago, you talked about the characters' ages. So what would be the current age of the characters? All editors, I feel like, hate this question, considering there are at least 6 or 7 generations of New Mutants nowadays. They are as old as they need to be, just like Batman. He's anywhere between the ages of 25 and 45. So what would be the current age of Xavier, Magneto, the original 5 X-Men, Storm, Kurt, Kitty, Emma, Rogue, Gambit, Betsy, also Morrison's new X-Men, the 2000s new X-Men, the Bendis' new X-Men, Ellipses, answer all of it. The thing is, you can't fully answer this question. You can't. This is why this outing is called sliding timelines. I think trying to nail this stuff down is almost always a mistake, Joel. I actually don't disagree with that part. I do think there's some suspension of disbelief that happens on the audience's part, or needs to, because you do have these long-running stories. And one that just causes arguments among the fan base. So I think it's to be avoided. If we're avoiding arguments between the fan base, then I don't know if coming out with the whole Franklin mutant never mattered was the statement to make, but that's okay. But speaking in generalities, the contemporary Marvel Universe has been around for about 15 years, give or take. That is to say, the Fantastic Four's origin always happened about 15 years ago, regardless of what year it happens to be. Of the characters you list, Magneto is by far the oldest, almost double the age of anybody else, because his origin has been inexorably linked to a historic event, the concentration camps, World War II. And so he has to have been born in the 1930s. That's why we de-aged him and made him young and hot again, Resurrection of Magneto. At the beginning of the MU, Spider-Man, the Human Torch, Cyclops, and Angel were all the same age, and that remains a constant. Iceman was slightly younger, the Beast slightly older, and everybody who came after them, such as Kitty or Storm, needs to remain relatively behind them. But what you're really asking is, how can we possibly fit so many stories into such a limited space? Is that what he was really asking? Are we presupposing what Joel was asking? Stephen Turner, thank you very much. Scott and Jean had an interaction today. I'm blocked off in today's Marvel Unlimited comic. He brought up Jean will live forever young and him aging and dying, made for an interesting dynamic before she leaves to go to space. That could be an interesting dynamic for them to play with, because as we saw in this, they're certainly not going to be playing with children, although that could also be an interesting dynamic, a mother who will outlive her progeny. We could play with that, or we couldn't, because that would make her old. I'm not salty, you're salty. All right. Again, I'm not sure if it's fair to presuppose that was the true question that was being asked. And the answer is that it's fiction, so we can do whatever the hell we like, provided that the readership goes along with it. There's a tendency among readers to expect the characters to age along with them, is there? Which is what leads to people thinking that Cyclops is 45 years old or something. But that's just not the way it works. Do you? I want you. Do you expect the characters to age with you? Is that something that you expect? Also, how do you feel about, I feel like when people throw out the answer is that it's fiction. It is fiction. This is a true statement, but there's something about that coming after all of these other answers that had very detailed answers in some cases, like again, the X gene answer, which could also have been answered with it's fiction and whatever the readers go along with. it shows that there is a different energy and headspace and seeming irritation surrounding this question compared to the other question, in my opinion, because I don't want to presuppose too much, but that's how it feels reading it. So what do you think? This is the thing that is making the rounds, making people make the statement of Marvel doesn't care about canon, which I think is a bit of an over exaggeration of what is being said here, because the core idea of that there's a sliding timeline and you have to kind of allow space for that makes sense, but there is something a titch flippant, or at least it could be read that way, because it is, as always, difficult to discern tone online. There is a way to read this incredibly flippantly if one feels like it. Ben Chan, thank you very much. Hank was influenced by a yellow space bug, and a yellow jacket is a yellow bug. Why would Hank do that? Why would Hank Pym do this? Are you trying to equate Hank with Hal Jordan? I see what you're doing there. Balls Monkey, thank you very much. If Ash Ketchum doesn't have to age, neither do the X-Men. Ash, he's been 10 forever. When they retired Ash, I miss Ash a little bit. It's true. I think there's a suspension of disbelief that people are willing to partake in. So what are we saying about, do we expect them to age with us? I have to say, regardless of what one feels about these answers, I'm so glad that they're here. This Substack is always a treat. I love that there are these answers out there, and this exchange, it warms the cockles of my heart, as they say. I think it's fun and it's interesting, and I think that this is a really cool thing to see as we're going into this new X launch from the ashes too. And because now, if things don't line up, I'm going to think about this. This is where I will be. It's interesting. It's interesting to see the headspace. There's a lot of things here that I don't entirely agree with, and the hyper focus on the idea that there's a fear here of aging the characters, making them feel old, and that they're not going to be able to, people aren't going to be able to relate to them. And I'm just not sure if that's the case, especially with all the new crop. I'm not sure what that would mean from a sales perspective, whether people would all take the new people, but I think you got to give them a chance. I don't know. I have lots of thoughts and feelings. Definitely the saltiest about this one. It instantly ages you. I have a secret. I'm really 85. The kids add 20 years each. Weepo, or Weep Zero Web Zero, thank you very much. My theory was always months take place in between issues, that no time passes. I don't really think about, honestly, how long it takes things, like trying to slot everything into a coherent timeline. That's fun for things like My Life Story, like they did with Spider-Man. But I've always personally practiced the idea that, okay, we're all suspending our disbelief. These stories have been going for a long time. We're enjoying them. We're just going to allow for the space and the idea that they're all happening somehow in this span of time. At least that's how I looked at it, that we were all, as fans, going to give some grace, and then it can be fun to poke at it, because those discussions, I believe at least, are meant to be fun, and I think some of them are better served staying between fans rather than between fans and creators or editors and the like, because sometimes I think they could lead to salt or hurt feelings, whether or not that is the intent or not. Adam Frey, thank you very much. How many Christmas stories has Spidey had? That's how many years have passed. No, we can't count them all the glorious Christmas issues. How many times have people met Santa at this point? So many times. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of things happen. Let's see. Yeah, I know, because there's lots of different thoughts about it, as someone's saying, but then you age people up, and then people are like, now they're too old. But that could speak to the idea that people don't want things to move too fast. So the question I always think of whenever this comes up, because it comes up a decent amount, is this a question that needs to be addressed, really? In terms of exact ages or how long it takes things to happen or the like? Or is a question more along the lines of, is somebody a mutant more necessary to be addressed or not? I don't know. I think it's easier to go with the flow. I just wasn't expecting some of the level of. I read some salt in these answers personally. You may not have. Just based on the idea, the questions themselves didn't. A couple of the questions were throwing some salt, but some of them were just genuine, really, real hardcore nerd questions. And again, it's cool that they were answered. Now, I'm not sure if the broken bath, if the broken bath has to do with the thruple or not, but I'm sure there was lots of pushback because I saw even articles popped up about it. So I'm sure there were lots of letters and the like that popped up about the whole thruple statements, which I also have, because this was actually a weekly thing, and it's still going to be a weekly thing, but he was answering way more questions, but now it's going to be a few less questions. But when you answer questions like this, which I appreciate so much, you are going to get more people pushing back in that way. Gunfighter 9, thank you very much. My rule for Marvel Universe time is the modern world is as old as Franklin Richards, plus 2 years to account for the time between the start of the Fantastic Four and Reed and Sue getting married and Franklin's birth. You see, I feel like what you're saying, I feel like everybody has their own kind of rules that they're operating with that make it make sense to them. Or you just think about things like, oh, Magneto was DH to a baby, and so that's why he's young. Because that's the other thing about that, where it talked about we don't want to be convoluted. Sometimes the convoluted can be fun, especially if it leads to things like, oh, so once DH to a baby, placing him back in the prime of life when he kidnapped them and took them to his lava base. I think that's part of the fun and a very unique aspect that you can have in these comics, which do have large soap opera elements. And that's part of it in a way that you keep the story going. I think that's fun, but I know that that's a mileage varies thing. That's not for everybody. Some people would prefer a more concrete. He's 35. But then you end up something more with like the Dread universe, because if you're going to give solid ages, then you do have to actually progress forward, which personally I wouldn't mind. I think you could do that and then have, like what they're doing now, have the mini series with stories that are taking place in certain time periods, or have another Earth where you're following those adventures, or just another line where you're following those adventures. I think there would be solutions to be able to have your cake and eat it too. But of course, it's very easy to sit here from a comfortable chair and just spout things out. The Apprentice, thank you very much. Unrelated, but have you seen the Marvel vs. Capcom collection? And if so, how do you feel? I saw of it, but I haven't taken the chance to really go and look at it. Dan V900, thank you very much. It makes me think about how only 1 year in universe passed in 160 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man. That is still insane. Tom Breevort is a salty man himself. Just look up what he thinks of Tom King. Oh, but the saltier people give the greatest quotes, and you have wonderful, wonderful quotes to read, which I enjoy. That's why I just read an entire Substack newsletter. I find this kind of thing, this is my lifeblood injected directly into my veins. When they said they were reprinting the Wolverine 88 facsimile with the ads, it was also with the letters, because that's what I want every facsimile to have. Also, the letters. That's what the people need. Do you want me to read the thruple one too? I have it pulled up. I just think it's interesting. Because people were arguing about it. They were arguing back and forth about the relationship, about whether or not Jean, Logan, Scott, all of them were sleeping together or not, because it's been an argument. So you know what? Why not? I took the time to pull it up. Matthew Prower, thank you very much. There's an existential element in these quotes, right? Sometimes it feels like it. Sometimes it feels like it. All right, let's put it up. All right, so this is the one that made the rounds a little while back. And I just thought about it because I find it fascinating when you put it next to the sliding timelines one, which has the it's fiction, let it go, whatever the audience will go with. And then you have this, which is from Zach J. Tom, not to be rude, but that's just simply not true. So here he's responding, obviously, to Tom from a previous thing. Jean was married to Scott, Hickman and Dugan's X-Men, and at minimum in a sexual relationship with Wolverine, X-Force, X-Lives of Wolverine. So they're putting like receipts. Additionally, Scott was romantically entangled with Emma, Cable, Dugan's X-Men at the same time. I get the line moved away from this and focused on more normal pairings and relationships, but I would hope you would trust your audience to understand what is happening on that page. All right, here we go. Because we were responding to a previous thing that Tom said. If anything wound up X fandom last week, Zach, it was my comments about the situation. And I had a couple of people come back and show me assorted pages and moments from the X books to support their position that such a throuple relationship was enforced between Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Wolverine. And you're entitled to read anything the way you want to. Thank you so much, of course. But speaking of just the letter of what is on the page rather than the spirits, I'm still unconvinced that there is enough evidence to support this position within the stories themselves. And most of those examples came from very early in the Krakoa era and haven't been reflected in more recent times. Not that I was shown anyway. So I'm not saying that it didn't happen. Everybody gets to have their own headcanon about whatever they like. But I do still hold to my original thesis, which is that while Jonathan may have cheekily made a reference or two to such a situation in interviews, there isn't a whole lot to support it as a thing within the stories themselves. Your mileage may vary. No, that's my thing. I say that. Lots of people say that. But there's so many glorious sentences in here. I love so much. But speaking of just the letter of what is on the page rather than the spirit. But by saying rather than the spirit, it's the spirit is there. The spirit is willing. That's implying that sentence implies that it's real. Like Cisco, don't you understand? It's real. And my thing is that you don't even have to like the throuple or not. It was not my favorite idea. But the idea of saying that people are just headcanoning it, or that it's not fully there, or that, oh, it happened early, so it doesn't matter. Come on now. Come on now. The attached bedroom page was real. And if it was just in there as a cheeky little thing, then that's not cool. That's kind of baity if you think about it in that way. If it's just like, oh, tee-hee, but we're not going to do anything with it, and we're going to let people get really excited about it and write all kinds of articles and things, then just yoink back and be like, what? Speaking of just the letter of what is on the page rather than the spirit, I'm unconvinced there's enough evidence. See, this is also fascinating when you read it alongside the later comments about canon in the later one, which is the one we read first, sliding timelines. I think it's very fascinating, the difference here between like, oh, it happened early, so just let it go, versus the whole answer about it being too convoluted, so why not go back to it? It's just, this is such an interesting read. It happened. It happened. It happened. And it was there. And to kind of state, and it's stated less, this one, because the first one, which I couldn't find when I was searching, had a more firm it did not happen. This one has more of a, oh, some things were there and you can read it how you want, but I don't think that there's enough evidence to merit it, which is an important statement, because as he will be the group editor going forward, it's likely that won't be what is foregrounded. I just find this whole situation very, very interesting. I love reading these things. Hold on. I need to pull up Monarch of Venice. Me too. I love the saltiness too. I know some people got very salty about the salt, and I can completely understand that. But I am enjoying the realness of this answer, that this is a real answer to this question. Whether you like it or not, the question was answered. And I appreciate that, because you don't get that often. Time of streaming. I was going to say time of recording. Then I was like, but this is a stream. uh, but yes. So this is why you need to, this is why, if somebody says, like, I have a Substack, go there. Because they're very, very, they're very interesting, and you get to see, they're almost like newsletters. They remind me of newsletters or those old forum boards or the like. It has, a lot of them have that energy of, even when people used to be on Tumblr or the like way back in the day. Neil Gaiman's still on Tumblr. But, and this level of communication and stuff that you have, at least on this one, is fun. And they're fascinating to read. I like going there and reading them. People write them a lot like they're newsletters, and they're just very candid and open on Substack, I find, which for me, I love. I think that's fantastic. And I think it's interesting personally. B&B is saying Blogspot. Yeah. Hold on, that was a lot of reading. Let me read what you were saying silently. Let's see. Ben Chan does not feel there is salt. So what do you think, Ben? He's simply being declarative and trying to be clear in his position as an editor. That's not salty. I do think he's trying to be clear in his position as an editor. I think that's great. I think you want that in an editor, that you want somebody to be like, this is what we're doing. I think that's really good. You need decisive leadership in an editor. I do think it is salty, and I do think that there is a bit of gaslighting and wordplay here. There's some very clever wording that's happening in these answers that I very much appreciate, but I personally think that there's a little bit of, I don't know why I'm hovering my mouse, like I have it up and you can see it still, but just very much. But speaking of just the letter voice on the page rather than the spirit, there are things like that are very much, in my opinion, if that's the case, then that speaks very much to prior editorial not putting a handle on something and not making a declaration clearly earlier when they should have, and now leaving it to him to have to come in and make all these statements when none of these were his decisions in the first place, which I think is definitely cause for salt. If you come into a situation now, it's just like, okay, well, now you have to answer all the questions about all the stuff that people did before you, and people are coming at you with a lot of like really direct things like this. I can definitely see a little bit of But we also have solicits. We have a million solicits to do as well. We have much reading. I'm very excited. I love these Substacks so much. A while ago, I floated out the idea of how I wish that I could just do videos reading old letters pages, because, as mentioned, the energy is the same. So, and of course, all of this, we're all just speculating. We're all just entirely sitting here or standing, whatever you're doing, whatever position you are in. We're all just speculating. Personally, I think it's interesting and fun, and I think that you need sometimes those disconnects from the fandom and the creative spaces to be able to discuss, things like this and just theories and ideas. It's one of the things I enjoy about fandom personally, and also just the idea of keeping that distance so that it doesn't get too personal or too, sometimes things get a bit too wild in fandom at times. We all know. All right, let me find the other things. I have other things. Oh yeah, Deadpool's dying. That's another thing that is that's happening. They're killing Deadpool at issue 6. That's not as big a deal as all the other stuff. But I thought I would bring it up because the movie is coming out, and they're doing that thing that was a joke a few years ago, that whenever a character has a movie, they kill him off. So they released some teaser art for it. So let me remove that and start sharing other things. There we go. We have all of the tech. We have the teching and the tech. Do. ever since the StreamYard really opens our options. You'll see how many tabs I have open. Oh my goodness. That's a whole bunch of tabs. Why do I still have my Spider-Man search open? I was looking up a Spider-Man thing, like my generic Spider-Man search. So Marvel released teaser art for Deadpool #6 featuring Death Grip punching a hole through Deadpool's chest. Cody Ziegler and Roy Antonio's Deadpool run reaches a startling turning point. This September, everything is happening in September, by the way. If you've been here for the last solicit, September is the month of things. With the death of Wade Wilson, the press release reads, stay tuned in the weeks ahead for an announcement about an all-new era of the series kicking off in Deadpool #6. They even have an editor's note on the cover, which I actually do like this editor's note. It's a throwback to older style covers, even though the rest of the cover is a more modern one. But here it says editor's note. Always love an editor's note. This is the first issue of a new era, and killing Deadpool now would be an insane thing to do, which is exactly why we're doing it. Is it odd at this point, though? I feel at this point it's almost expected. Can Deadpool die again? Where are we at with Deadpool and his relationship with death and all those things? I've got to catch back up in all of the pool runs that have happened. But that's a thing that is happening. I thought it was mildly interesting and worth highlighting and bringing up. I'm sure we're going to read a bit about it because it's sure to be in the solicits that we're going to look at. This cover is not bad. I wish you could see more. There's something about the blood, though. The blood's not vibing with me. It looks like CGI blood when they throw that into a movie instead of, practical effects blood. It just looks like it's kind of floating there. It doesn't look like it's actually coming out of his body. Without spoiling anything, Wade, this is from Cody Ziegler. Without spoiling anything, Wade's unkillable. He has a pretty laissez-faire attitude towards anything, and Death Grip is a character that has a unique approach to that stuff. He's a guy that we get into it later in this series, but he has studied the mystic arts. Ooh, like a Doctor Strange type academy, or like Doctor Doom, only he failed out. He's a mix of mystic with someone like Shang-Chi, or some of Iron Fist's abilities. He added, someone who has a touch of mystic abilities, but also martial arts prowess, who has built a cult-like religion around the concept of chasing death and finding an avatar for death. And what is more enticing to him than someone who is unkillable? A lot of the conflict is based around Death Grip trying to find this unkillable person and seeing what he can learn from someone who's unkillable. We've said unkillable a lot. If your pursuit in life is learning deadly martial arts, what better than practicing on someone who seemingly can't be killed? So that's what we're doing for that. Are you interested in Death Grip? I don't know why I did that like whip motion. It just feels like you need some kind of motion for Death Grip since they're talking all about his prowess in the arts. Dan V900, thank you very much. I do miss a guy like Darwin Cook who called other artists out for being slow and not working at speed. Just no filter. And his iFanboy interviews were great. His Substack would have been awesome. There's lots of, it's worth it. It's worth checking out the Substacks of people that you enjoy following. There's one I never got to read because I was too pregnant at the time. It was Matthew Rosenberg responding to the whole pregnant Joker thing. That was wild. It was a whole Substack rant. It was awesome. I think these things are a lot of fun. I don't think I'd have a very interesting Substack, though. I don't even know what I'd talk about on Substack. You got to have people to bounce the things off of. That's why Tom Breevort is so entertaining, because he's responding to people in that way. Are we ready? Are we ready for solicits? Oh, Edward Alcantara, that's a good observation. He's Lord Deathman. I hope he's as fun as Lord Deathman. I enjoyed when they had Lord Deathman with Flatline as his protege. That was a fun time. When we read Joshua Williamson's Substack last stream, he talked about how he wanted to do more stuff with the tournament arc, and that would have been fun. The tournament arc is a nice little arc for Damien. Who doesn't love a tournament? Oh, are we ready? Hold on. I gotta get it ready and make sure we're at a good size for all of the covers and stuff so that we can nicely see We want to see them, you know? I realized I was using the wrong setting for the DC ones, and that's why everything looked so far away, but not today. We learn, we live and learn as we do these streams. I feel like we're getting a good flow going, you know? All right. But first, non-coffee liquid. We need tea. We need tea. We should have been drinking the tea for the Substack and the coffee for this. Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity. All right. Let's pull it up. Starting right off with From the Ashes and a nice Wolverine cover. Boom. There we go. All the ads, because ad block, what's that? No. Ugh. There we go. Experience an unad blocked internet. Or martini with salt on the rim. Oh no. Only thing on this rim is my lipstick. Liberty, not tonight. No rating tonight. Oh, hold on before we get into it. The infamous Mike Manhattan. Did you know that Ghost Machine has a coffee? I do know that Ghost Machine has a coffee. I also know that I am going to do that review of Redcoat, and hopefully I get it out this week or early next week at the latest. But that is happening. I'm very excited to talk about my Disaster Immortal. So, but yes, there's also coffee. I feel like a lot of people have coffee these days. All right. From the Ashes, A New Beginning, Wolverine. And many a cover, of course, because we're doing a 50 thing. We've got to have lots of them. So you have choices for what you want. Wolverine #1, Saladin Ahmed with Martin Coccolo on art. Martin Coccolo, there we go. And these are all the different variants that you can get. All right. The legend begins anew in the Adamantium Tough new ongoing series. There's a killer in the woods, and as Wolverine's attempt at peace is shattered. There we go. We can do it. An old enemy will reemerge as a new villain rises, who will bring Logan to the brink of his berserker rage. But Nightcrawler knows his old friend is capable of doing what's right, and before long, Logan will have to unleash his claws, push his healing factor to the limit, and demonstrate he's the best there is at what he does. And what he does isn't very... and once and for all, nice be damned, because what he does isn't very nice. So that was a nice play on that. And then we have who is doing it. It'll be nice to see Wolverine and Kurt together. So Logan and Kurt, their friendship is really, really nice. So it could be really nice to see that. Does that sound like something that is up your alley? Oh, they put a collector's note here. A key first appearance and a major addition to the lore of Wolverine is in this issue. They're trying to entice the speculators to come and buy a lot of them and then maybe flip them. All right, we have exceptional X-Men here. Emma looking great on the main cover. This is Exceptional X-Men by Eve Ewing with Carmen Carnero on art. Lots of other variants. Godzilla variant cover, which we did not see there, but get your Godzilla variant. After the fall of Krakoa, Kate Pride is trying to get as far away from all things X as she possibly can. She's just a regular degular bartender now. I wasn't ready for regular degular. Definitely not getting ready to head up an all-new team of wayward young mutants while avoiding the watchful gaze of Emma Frost. Nothing in this title but work, dating, and staving off depression. That's it. No never before seen exceptional X-Men to see here. I wasn't ready for regular degular. Oh, here's Dazzler. Oh, I wish Amanda was here, but I think she's streaming. So that Dazzler for you. I actually really like this Dazzler cover a lot. Kids screaming and having fun outside. You probably couldn't hear them, but I could. All right, Dazzler, 1 of 4. Jason Liu writing with Rafael Loureiro on art. So bright, this star. Dazzler, Marvel's glittering mutant songstress, has been in and out of the limelight over the years, but now the time has finally come for her to take center stage. Dazzler embarks on a new world tour, the culmination and celebration of her entire musical career, and along for the ride is her new road crew, Domino, Strong Guy, and Multiple Man. With Multiple Man, you probably don't need more people. But while Dazzler may be ready to focus on her music, her celebrity mutant status and a violent attack may sideline the entire endeavor before it's even begun. Each issue features original song lyrics from Allie's notebook. Don't miss the concert and comic event of the year. Oh, come on now. Do a tie-in song or album. Remember when they did that for that Black Canary series for the DCU with the U, like you, the one where they did the ones that weren't really fully in continuity, and they had an actual song for Black Canary's band. If we're committing, let's go original song, not just the lyrics. The book did that too, the young adult graphic novel, where the author actually sang the song. We talked about it in her interview. It was pretty cool, actually. All right, this is the Uncanny X-Men. Yes, Doug, Ashes on Sunday. That was it. Ashes on Sunday, for those who want to look up the Black Canary stuff. Tyler Preston is asking, was it any good? You know, it was good. No, it was decent. It was decent. It's just it's a vibe. Some people just go back and listen to that album. If it's going to be Dazzler, I hope it's really poppy and disco. Let's do it. All right, the Uncanny X-Men. Gambit. Uncanny X-Men number 2, written by Gail Simone, art by David Marquez. Godzilla variant. Who are the outliers? From the Ashes continues as Rogue, Gambit, and Wolverine, who is also here, welcome a friend back just in time to face 4 uncontrollable and wild mutants in the swamps of Louisiana. But with the mutant community disheartened and fractured, will even the Uncanny X-Men be enough to stop them? Something huge is starting, and it begins right here. So Wolverine's here too, huh? Are we going to bother with that, or is it fiction? That's my salt. It's fiction. It's whatever the readers will allow. So says the editor's Substack. That's enough salt for me. Let's look at the Uncanny X-Men number 3. It's loving salt. The salt comes from love. I'm just a human salt monster, like in Star Trek. It's my natural form. I can't help it. All right. Number 3. I like this Nightcrawler one. This is a nice one too. We got Jubilee over here. I liked this one. Obviously, I put it in my thumbnail. I thought it was very colorful. It's another nice Nightcrawler one. Nightcrawler representation. All right, number 3. Same team. Catch the Elf. So, okay, so they're probably tying in, obviously. If we're saying Catch the Elves, they're probably connected. Let's hope. Because I personally find that the stronger things are connected and the more things tie into each other and the smoother the continuity is, the more rewarding it feels and the more excited you are about wanting to maybe pick up more books. And I think when you have this many books in the line, you want that. I think you're hoping for that. Catch the Elf. When a new lethally powerful and completely untrained young mutant shows up on Rogue's doorstep with no knowledge of how they got there, a grieving Rogue seeks to take Xavier's place in guiding them to the light, while darkness from the past returns to destroy the X-Men one at a time. X-Force, number 3. Written by Jeffrey Thorne. We have art by Marcus Toe, and then we have the cover by Steven Segovia. They put them all in a row there for some reason. So we get this sweet ad for House of the Dragon. The Nuclear option from the Ashes. X-Force's biggest mission yet brings them to the brink of destruction at the hands of Nuclear. But when Nuclear's mysterious rampage conflicts with the world-threatening fracture node detected by Forge, what sacrifice will X-Force make to complete their no-win mission? Secrets, surprises, team drama, and nonstop action make X-Force the hottest book of the summer. We have X-Men number 4 with somebody holding this tablet with Juggernaut on it. Looking good. X-Men number 4, Jed MacKay. Art by Ryan Stegman. Godzilla variant. They kill for kicks and they kill for clicks. Hello, internet. It's your boy. They said it. Okay, this is a running joke with me, but this is a thing they throw into internet speak all the time when they're doing influencers or online stuff. It's very greetings, fellow kids. I'm thrilled. Hello, Internet. It's your boy, Trevor Fitzroy. That's right, Trevor Fitzroy and the Upstarts out there delivering the content you crave. Live stream, bespoke, mutant murder in high def. Is it in 4K, though? And best of all, you, the viewers, are the ones rating the kills. So smash that like button, hit subscribe, and tell us who the number one killer is. Let's go. It's your boy. Smash that like button. Oh dear. All right. Set phasers to cringe. I'm excited. You know I love stuff like that. I love stuff like this. I think you can incorporate internet culture into your stuff, but it moves quickly. And so it's difficult to be directly on trend. It's easier to do that in retrospect if you cast things a little bit back. But if you're trying to do like this is a hip current influencer, oftentimes it just comes across as try hard. I found this amusing, but that's just me. Did this land for you? did this land for you? Like I'd like bespoke. Bespoke is a thing that you hear around. But you should have replaced high def with 4K. Cotton 4K is a bit old at this point, but I think that would have been a bit more accurate than high def, but that's just me. I almost want to read it again. I just want to hit that whole it's your boy again. There's no cover here for NYX or Nick's number 3. All right, so this is Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig, and we have Francesco Martorino on art. To Anole, last night a mutant was killed in Greenpoint. His name was Shay, but he could have been any of us. I hope you'll come to the memorial. We have to show up for each other, or it's going to be guys like the truth seekers who decide what happens to mutants in New York City. I know it's different for you. How much you risk just leaving the house every day. And I know you hate all the superhero stuff, but this is a fight worth fighting. From Kamala. You know what? I think that's a pretty cool solicit. It lets you know a little bit about what's going on. It sets the tone. Of the two, like trying different things solicits that we have right here in a row, I think this one takes the more interesting and compelling and emotional risk personally than the it's your boy one. Chemdog is saying Fitzroy never talked like that ever. Phoenix, who look at how young she is. You can tell she has no children. Yes, I'm still salty about that. That will make no sense if you just came into the stream at this point. But there was the whole thing earlier, if you're just joining now, where there was a whole we can't give her kids because then she'll be old. Ooh, this is a nice cover. I like that. Phoenix number 3 by Stephanie Phillips, and then we have art by Alessandro Miracolo. Death from above and below. Saving a planet full of kidnapping victims who have disappeared from the gaudy whirlwind of Game World seems like just another day in space for Jean Grey. Though she did just get the tip-off from her less than forthright father-in-law, legendary pirate corsair of the Starjammers crew, and the kidnappers are none other than the children of Thanos themselves, the dread Black Order. And yet, somehow, it's all about to get a whole lot worse. Then we got X Factor, but this is the one that was supposed to be about influencers. So we've got 2. Are you gonna hit me with another? It's your boy, please. Please, I want another, sir. Another, please, sir. I want some more. Ooh, Polaris. X Factor number 2. Mark Russell. Oh, come on! If anybody's gonna give me an it's your boy, then we have Bob Quinn on art. Polaris versus X Factor. Bullet points. There's a new mutant rebel, and Polaris is at the forefront of it all. But how do they know so much about X Factor's classified missions? Havoc must seek out a traitor on the team. But how can he if it's him? I like this. I like that. How can he if it's him? That's fun. That's a fun little solicit over there. All right, the Avengers. And this intense bit of action happening here in the front. All right. Ooh, Storm looks nice there. The Avengers number 18, written by Jed McKay, and then we have Valerio She on art. Okay, there we go. Do we have a Godzilla variant though? No, we have a Stormbreakers variant though. Storm against Hyperion. New Avenger member Storm has just joined the team just in time to deal with catastrophe, and she'll need to call in other mutants to help against this world-ending threat. A who's who of the Marvel Universe must unite against the supreme power of Hyperion. Nice play on words there. And someone steps off the Avengers. We have a reprint of the Savage Land issue from the Uncanny X-Men, probably because of all that was going on in X-Men 97. So get your reprint if that's an issue that you don't have. Does it have the ads? Yes, original form, ads and all. Does it have the letters though? We got to have everything if we're doing it. Jerez 504, thank you very much. How many X books are too many? Who can afford it all? It's a lot. You got to make a choice. I've already made the choice for It's Your Boy, but I mean, it is a lot in all sincerity that you do. It would be a lot to keep up with all of these, and especially if you were reading other Marvel titles too. Like I haven't been highlighting the prices of all of them, but it adds up. No. I will not be defeated. What if Donald Duck became the mighty Thor? These are cute. Louis is saying, I just wait for 4 months for the Marvel Unlimited. Yeah, I can see that. But, you know, some people want it. They like, by they, I mean like the Marvel like marketing. They play on the whole, you need to read it now. No. And that is part of it if you're reading monthly all the time, wanting to keep up with it. Personally, as someone who hops on and off of things, I also can wait, but I can also see why you like if you're keeping up with it, you want to be able to keep up with it. And if you're trying to, it's a lot. Marvel and Disney What If? Donald Duck became Thor #1. We have Steve Bailing on the plot, Ricardo Seichi writing, and Lorenzo Pastrovicchio on art. Black and white variant. Is this foul worthy of the Hammer of Thor? When Donald Duck chaperones Huey, Dewey, and Louie on an archaeological trip to search for ancient Viking artifacts, he finds more than he bargained for when he comes across the stone ducks from Saturn, preparing for an invasion. But everything changes when he discovers an enchanted cane that causes an exceptional transformation, gifting him with the power of Thor. Can he learn how to use his new abilities in time to save Duckburg before he changes back? Find out in this mind-twisting retelling of the mighty Thor's thunderous origin. Matthew Power, thank you very much. Been some time since Marvel did a Disney comic. It sounds really cute. I hope it does some original things, though, and isn't just a complete retelling of the first Thor story. Adrian Parchman, thank you very much. What if Donald Duck became the Hulk? That's the one you want to see? That's what the people need. We need all of the origins, but with Donald Duck. All right. Aliens versus Avengers. #2 of 4. This is written by Jonathan Hickman, and then we have Isad Ribic on art. Earth surrenders? Overwhelmed by xenomorphs, the survivors abandon their home planet. But so many are dead, so many wounded, and a terrifying few changed. The Avengers must avenge. Avengers avenge. It doesn't have the same ring to it as assembling. I like that concept, though. I'm always a sucker for the Alien and Predator crossovers. Let them fight. Doug, thank you very much. Marvel publishes Donald Duck after the Howard the Duck saga. Yes, we still have Donald coming at you. There's such a long history with the Donald Duck and like all those comics. It's honestly nice to see one again. Speaking of the tie-ins of the Alien and Predator versus Black Panther. Ooh, Heatseeker cover. Predator versus Black Panther, #2 of 4, written by Benjamin Percy. And then we have Chris Allen and Sean Damian Hill on art. All right. The ultimate hunting. The ultimate hunting preserve Wakanda. Yots just stalk the jungles of one of the most isolated and wealthy nations on Earth. Wakanda's war dogs, the Hotut Ziraz. Ziraz, yep, fall like wheat. I wasn't ready for that. Fall like wheat. The Dora Milaje bury those bodies with their own. Princess Shuri is trapped out of reach, and the Black Panther finds his country invaded not by the warmongering West, but by monsters from beyond the stars. The fiercest hunters in the known universe versus a king who might just be beast enough to stop them. Is he a beast? Is he enough of a beast to stop them? Dan V, thank you very much. So which Avenger gets a face hugger? I bet Hulk. You know you've got to have the classic almost chest burster scene if we're doing an alien thing. It's a staple. It's in the rules. It might actually be. You know that the Godzilla Toho, they put a bunch of rules in for what they can and can't do with Godzilla for people who are using him, and one of them is that he can't die. So keeping up with keeping you up on the Godzilla lore there. Blood Hunters. Oh, here's Hallows Eve. Ooh. Okay, I like there are way too many limbs here, but it's working in the horror sense. It's working in the horror sense, even though it looks like very wrong. Blood Hunters, 2 of 5. Written by Erica Schultz, and we have Robert Gill on art. All right. Dagger, Elsa Bloodstone, White Widow, Hallows Eve. The Blood Hunters may have only just become a team, but they're already in danger of combusting. In Elsa Bloodstone's eyes, all vampires deserve to be dusted, and she has her sights set on Miles Morales, aka Spider-Man. But her teammates, Dagger, White Widow, and Hallows Eve, disagree violently. And the Blood Hunters aren't only facing off against one another in this issue, they also have to contend with the superpowered vamps known as the Blood Coven. We have Spirits of Vengeance, Ghost Riders. No, that's cute. Wee. Spirits of Vengeance #1, written by Sabir Pirzada, and then we have Sean Damian Hill on art. Johnny Blaze, Danny Ketch, Robbie Reyes, The Hood, Kashala. Many have borne the title Spirit of Vengeance, and as its most recent claimant has embarked on its final ride to explosive results, others still stir in the darker corners of the Marvel Universe, and one in particular, why is there a thing on my screen, has a stronger connection to 2 Ghost Riders than the rest, and after years it's ready to show its fangs again at last. Ben Chan says, should have been a tricycle? That would have been very cute if it was a little tricycle. Marvel Zombies, Dawn of Decay. The zombies are back in town. Homage variant. Marvel Zombies, Dawn of Decay, #1 of 4. We have Thomas Krajewski writing, and we have Jason Muir on art. A new zombie virus is unleashed, and Groot is patient zero. Groot feels bad, not only because Rocket's latest scheme put them firmly in the crosshairs of the Avengers, but also he's just plain sick, sap dripping nose and all. Things go from bad to apocalyptic, however, after an ill-timed sneeze in Captain America's face has unforeseeable consequences. Suddenly, Groot is being attacked by a horde of zombified Avengers, and only he and Hulk, with his impenetrable green skin, remain impervious. Now it's up to these 2 heroes to team up and fight their way through a blighted New York City to Banner's lab and Avengers Tower to find a cure before it's too late. But can Groot keep the hero in check and on track, or will Hulk unleash his deadly might on the zombies they once called friends? That has some Last of Us vibes in terms of like the plantiness of what's going on with this zombie outbreak, but we're Marvel zombieing some more. So if you are collecting every Marvel zombie thing, this is here. Here it is. The Deadpool dying wait doesn't have our editor's note on it. It's not the same without the editor's note. So this is Deadpool #6 by Cody Ziegler, and then we have Rohei Antonio on art. Wade Wilson triumphed against Death's Grip. Just Death Grip. I keep wanting to say Death's Grip. This is the first issue of a new arc, and killing Deadpool now would be an insane thing to do, which is exactly why we're doing it. I was hoping for more. I was hoping for a bit more in that solicit, but that's okay. Deadpool team up. Deadpool is teaming up. Here's a Liefeld cover. Is he? Oh, I see. Their legs are in the water, so you can't see their feet. I see you. We have lots of covers for Deadpool team up. This is number 2 of 5, written by Rob Liefeld, art by Rob Liefeld. Who is Ral Dorn, and how does the Dragon Lord factor into Deadpool and his latest mission? Join everyone's favorite merc with a mouth and an all-star cast of Marvel's finest as he races to obtain the Dragon Egg and save 2 worlds in the process, featuring Crystar, Wolverine, Hulk, Spider-Gwen, Lady Anime, Major X, and many more. So this will be fun to see this old characterization of Deadpool. So I'm actually into Deadpool team up personally. Wolverine, Revenge. This image is both slightly menacing and slightly silly, and I enjoy it. Oh, we have lots. We have lots for the Revenge. Ooh, I like this colorful one. That's pretty. Very nice. There's a nice, relaxing, cozy Wolverine down there. Okay, Wolverine Revenge number 2 of 5. This is written by Jonathan Hickman, and we have Greg Capullo on art. Yes, this is Rose Besh for this colorful one. Logan out for vengeance. The unspeakable has come to pass, and now Sabretooth, Omega Red, and Deadpool will pay. Jonathan Hickman and Greg Capullo raise the stakes for Wolverine as his near-death experience sends Logan towards untempered vengeance on his enemies. You won't want to miss this key chapter of this prestige miniseries. Well, I mean, there's only 5 issues. I think all of them would be key chapters, destined to live on as one of Wolverine's all-time most brutal tales. There's even a Red Band edition. That's how we know it's the most brutal. This one says to slice deeper into Wolverine Revenge number 2. Deeper, rawer, harder, with the Red Band edition featuring exclusive pages and elevated action. See, with the more gore, we're elevating it. Polybag to contain the violence within. Are any of you collecting the Polybag editions? Let me know. Oh, then we have Werewolf by Night, which we don't have the cover. I'm sad for Red Band number 2. This is written by Jason Liu, and then we have Sergio Davila on art. Like a wild beast at bay, Jack Russell has found himself in the middle of a mysterious massacre, and he's the prime suspect. With his memories missing and his wolf form out of control and off the leash, will Jack be able to clear his name, or will his former allies and friends finally realize he's a rabid dog that needs to be put down? Read at your own risk, true believers. Explicit content, polybagged. Wolverine Deep Cut. I thought we were already slicing deeper with the polybagged edition up there. Deep Cut. This is Deep Cut, number 3 of 4. This is written by Chris Claremont, and then we have Edgar Salazar on art. A sinister homecoming. Mr. Sinister's home base for his diabolical experiments at the State Home for Foundlings is crawling with marauders, and one of Wolverine's most vicious enemies, Sabretooth. Last issue's revelations means one thing for Logan, the fight of his life. He is fighting for his life in all of these. Avengers, assemble. We're assembling. Lots of group shots. Avengers Assemble, number 1 of 5. This is written by Steve Orlando. Then we have Corey Smith on art. Disco Dazzler variant. Return to Avengers Mansion. When vampires attacked, a ragtag group of volunteer Avengers changed the tide of battle, and in the aftermath, Captain America has formed the Avengers Emergency Response Squad. Steve's handpicked team of veterans and newcomers live and train in Avengers Mansion, and when Captain America sounds the mission horn, I hope it's a literal horn, whoever's on base has seconds to pack up and deploy. When the Red Skull's daughter discovers a dangerous artifact, Cap, Wasp, Photon, and Shang-Chi set out to stop her, while Hawkeye hosts a poker game for the late arrivals. Will the Avengers pass their first real test? And did someone say jackets? Are they getting jackets? Just like the Super Family? Spinning out of Jed McCabe's Avengers Comics powerhouse. Then we have, okay, who's writing it? Okay, that's what we're doing. Spider-Man Homeroom Heroes, number 1. This is written by Steve Fox, and then we have Ariana Florian on art. Old foes, new tricks.
Teenage superhero Spider-Man has enough on his plate keeping New York City safe from the likes of Electro and Tombstone, but when you add in his life as high schooler Peter Parker, things get really stressful. Luckily, Spidey's got web shooters, spider sense, some super friends, and a knack for creative problem solving on his side. Featuring two 10-page short stories, this new series is the perfect introduction to the Marvel Universe and the wall-crawling world of Spider-Man.
So I think we're trying to do some entry level stuff with Spider-Man here. Does this appeal to you? Is this something you would pick up? I feel like this is something you would want to get for your kids, maybe. Venom War. Oh yeah, there were a million Venom Wars happening as well. Venom War, number 2 of 5. This is by Al Ewing, and then we have Iban Coelho on art. The Venom War rages on. Eddie and Dylan Brock, father and son, in a bloodthirsty battle to determine the one true Venom. There can be only one, but there's one more contender entering the ring, the Amazing Spider-Man, and the vengeful Meridius begins his endgame, unleashing mindless half-zombie, half-symbiote zombiotes. Oh, I forgot all about the word zombiote from last time. What a treat. Zombiotes upon New York City and threatening to transform heroes, villains, and innocents into his bloodthirsty servants. Yeah, I like the second cover too. It's cute. Scotty Young covers are cute. Venom War, Deadpool. Oh, number one of 3. This is by Cullen Bunn. Oh, fun. I was actually just rereading Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe today because I want to do a little bit of a video on it discussing, because people keep calling it controversial. So I wanted to discuss some of that. So I just reread that today. So that's going to be some Deadpool Cullen Bunn stuff and Rob DeSalvo on art. Deadpool kills a symbiote plague. The merc with a mouth bit off more than he can chew. A horde full of ravening zombiotes who has weighed not Grawlixed off badly enough to actually lend him a hand. Fan favorite Deadpool scribe Cullen Bunn is back for more mercenary mayhem. Well, I did just react favorably, so I guess we can keep that statement. This is Venom War Daredevil. Number 1, written by Chris Condon, and then we have Lan Medina on art. Night of the Crawling Zombiotes. As Venom War rages, Manhattan finds itself besieged by an infectious new strain of symbiotes, one that drives their living hosts to an all-encompassing hunger for human flesh and can even reanimate the dead. As the horde of zombiotes, we gotta play with the pun, descends on Hell's Kitchen, the 2 daredevils must rise up to stand as the last line of defense. But will they be enough to stem the tide, or will their brains be first on the menu? Venom War, Lethal Protectors. So this is another event that you have a lot to potentially collect. Number 1 of 3. This is by Sabir Pruzada, and then we have Luca Maresca on art. Silver Sable and the Symbiote Squad join the Venom War. You don't have a choice. There are so many issues. Sable's assembled a new hyper-lethal mercenary team of Redacted in order to steal Classified. Standing in their way, bloodthirsty zombies, which we're going to... This is like the Zubembis of this event. Time to fight fire with fire by unleashing the Life Foundation symbiotes. Scream, Riot, Agony, Lasher, and Phage against their foes. Those are names I've not heard in a while. Venom War, Venomous. And this cover, she needs to call HR. The reflection's kind of cool, but on the whole, I think this one's more arresting. All right, this is number 2 of 3, and this is by Erica Schultz, and then we have Luciano Vecchio on art. All right, beware the symbiote sting of the Black Widow. Black Widow gains new symbiote allies, Flash Thompson, Agent Anti-Venom, and Liz Allen, Misery, in the Venom War, and they're winning the fight until they come face-to-face with a zombiote horde swallowing all of New York. One of Widow's teammates may hold the key to victory, but the price they'll need to pay, may be too steep. Venom War, this one's just called Zombiotes. There we go. This is the one you need, so you can have it on your cover right there.
Oh, I do like this. This is going hard in the front here. This is number 2 of 3. It's written by Kevin Scott, and then we have Juan Jose on art. As the two Venoms fight in a darker strain of symbiotes, the zombiotes slither across New York City. The dead are reanimated into crawlers, the living possessed as swingers, all intent on, you can read that a very different way, all intent on turning the entire city into mindless killing machines. An unlikely team led by She-Hulk, Hellcat, and Shocker could be humanity's only hope. We needed a shocking pun in there. A shocking team. Venom War, Wolverine. Ooh, I do like this one. I do like this cover. No, not crawlers, crawlers. Chemdog, crawlers. Venom War, Wolverine number 1. Oh my goodness, this is a lot of tie-ins. 1 of 3. This is by Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks, and then we have Kev Walker on art. The Wolverine is a zombie out. The only thing more dangerous than Wolverine is Wolverine bonded to a mindless symbiote hungry for flesh as the zombiotes spread across NYC, transforming everyone in their path into uncontrollable killing machines. Logan's only hope to save lives and avoid infection lies in returning to a dark chapter from his past. Logan slashes his way into a horror story from the twisted writing team behind Local Man and the incredible art of Kev Walker, who has done Marvel Zombies before. Venom War, Carnage. Oh, I wasn't ready for all this Venom War. It's funny because I read last month's and yet I had forgotten. This is by Torrin Grunbeck, and then we have Perez on the art. Variant cover to be announced. Carnage takes on a new host and breaks into the K Project to discover the horrible applications of the symbiote-killing K chemical. But when everything goes sideways, he's saved by an unlikely ally, Meridius. But nobody said the word zombie in this to solicit. I don't know who I am anymore. Spider-Man Venom War. I was looking at MJ on the cover. That's why I paused there. I had to think about it. Venom War Spider-Man number 2 of 4. This is Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig writing. Then we have Greg Land on art. I thought so. That's what I was thinking about. There's the signature. Back in Black, Eddie and Dylan Brock battle over the symbiote, but Venom has already chosen his first host, Peter Parker, the Amazing Spider-Man. But this time, Pete and the symbiote are working together, and with Mary Jane, aka Jackpot, on his side, Spidey might be the one true victor in the Venom War. All right, we have Venom War now. Venom, number 37. This is by Torrin Grunbeck, writing, and then we have Kafu on art. And we have Godzilla variant cover. The battle is back in time against Spider-Man. As Eddie and Dylan Brock's father-son war rages, another Dylan Brock is on a mission to make sure things go the way they're supposed to. An older Dylan, Old Man Venom, travels back in time to Spider-Man's earliest days. But should he fail, it's not just the fates of the combatants of the Venom War at stake, but the fate of all time itself. We have Ultimate X-Men, which I'm still reading and enjoying. It was interesting doing that video talking about why it was different. And there was some really interesting comments on that video. There were a lot of fun to read through. So thank you for those who left comments on that, because there was lots of really interesting perspectives. This is number 7 by Peach Momoko, doing all the things. After the climactic finale of issue 6 and the surprise new teammate they found, May, Hisako, Nico, and the mutants need some guidance. Fortunately, the mysterious Canon is an older student with a surprising amount of expertise. So meet the mutants' new mentor, Psylocke. So as you can see, things are coming together with Ultimate X-Men. It's the pacing, as some people point out in the comments, is more paced towards being a manga, which would most likely be coming out weekly. So it does feel very slow coming out at a monthly pace, but it's really starting to come together and coalesce with everything. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think this one's going to be one that people like pick up as there's more of it to read, and as it comes together in trade, I don't know, I think people are going to get more into it. Personally, that's just my opinion though. The Ultimates, which I really enjoyed a lot more than I was expecting to. I don't know what I was expecting, but this one. If I was a person who went hunting for variant covers, I would hunt for this one of Maker Reed messing with Doom Reed. Definitely. I like this one a lot. It's really horrifying. Ultimates number 4, written by Denise Camp, and then we have Phil Noto on art. Doom's years of torture at the hands of the Maker finally catch up to him in this secret history of the real Reed Richards, and tensions rise among the Ultimates when Doom might be more fixated on recreating the life he should have had than the life he got. This has been interesting. So I know it's been one issue, but it was interesting, and I'm actually really excited for this issue because, you know, me and Reed, I think he's fascinating. The Geekling, thank you very much. For me personally, Eddie and Venom equals forever. So he's your favorite host. I am fond of Eddie and like Venom bonded together. Who's excited for Venom 3? Now they're doing that. I go and see all of those whenever they come out. Oh, ooh, love it. Look at that. Look at that. Ultimate Black Panther, number 8, written by Brian Hill. And then we have Stefano Caselli on the art. Ooh, nice and bullet pointy. Black Panther and Storm take the fight to Moon Knight. Enough planning. Time for a guerrilla counterstrike against Khonshu and Ra. Meanwhile, Killmonger and Okoye seek allies to aid their cause outside of Wakanda. So don't miss the big gun they call in. Ultimate Who? You'll have to read to find out. Then we have Ultimate Spider-Man. I like this one a lot. Ultimate Spider-Man number 9, written by Jonathan Hickman and art by Marco Tichetto. The Sinister Six make their first strike, but who are the Sinister Six? The first member throws down with Spider-Man and Green Goblin in this action-packed issue. Plus, with Tony Stark's return, Peter must also explore the limitations of his new suit. So this universe is really, oh my gosh, I smacked it. I'm so excited about the continuity. It's just that smack my mic. So this universe is really starting to come together at this point. I've really been enjoying the Ultimate Universe 2 that is Ultimate Universe in name only, but concept. Moon Knight Annual, number 1, by Dan Waters and Derek Landry. And then we have Sarah Pacelli and more on the art. Infinity Watch Part 7. A strange sleepwalking plague is swept through the city, and it's up to Moon Knight to solve the mystery. But when his investigation causes him to clash with one of the newest Infinity Stone bearers in a previously unseen adventure, it'll be all Moon Knight can do to survive the skirmish, let alone try to keep the Mind Stone out of nefarious hands. Strap in, true believers. Things are about to get rocky. So it's strap in, edge of your seat stuff. We have Spider-Boy Annual, written by Steve Fox, and then we have Carlos Nieto on art. Infinity Watch Part 8. Spider-Boy is juggling being Spider-Man's sidekick, keeping his friends safe, and just being a regular kid. But nothing stops him from jumping in when trouble is brewing. This time he's joined by Multitude, who has the Soul Stone, and Prince of Power, who has the Power Stone, of course, as they that was in brackets. That was them saying, of course. As they face off against a mysterious evil, they vow to stop. Then we have the Avengers Infinity Watch in the annual, number 1, written by Derek Landry, and then we have art to be announced. We'll figure it out. Godzilla variant, though. Infinity Watch finale. The Infinity Stone bearers are all brought together for the first time. If you thought the stones were dangerous in Thanos' hands, imagine if Star gets her way. Oh my goodness, Star. They're doing something with Star. That's amazing. The Amazing Spider-Man. That was actually a nice unintentional segue from Amazing to Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man number 57. We have Zeb Wells writing and then John Romita Jr. on the art. Tombstone finds himself in prison after the brutal beatings he dished out and also took in the previous issue. But if you know Tombstone, you know that this is not quite the end of a story starring Lonnie Lincoln. They keep trying to hype this up as like the biggest, most brutal thing. We shall see. This is number 58. Same creative team. Let's go. They see the most visceral issues in Amazing Spider-Man history begin here. The most visceral. Spider-Man Reign 2, even though the way it is, the 2 is, it doesn't make you want to read it like that. Beards. Beard versus beard. Spider-Man Reign number 2. Number 3 of 5. Gary Andrews doing everything. Old man Peter Parker is lashing out and making wildly bad decisions. But what else is new? Well, now he's got Miles Morales after him, and Miles is no spring chicken himself. The Spider War is fought, and the whole of existence may very well be at stake as time and space get pulled to the brink. Spider-Man, black suit and blood. We've got lots of people. Greg Weisman, Erica Schultz, Dan Jurgens, and we have Javi Fernandez, Marcelo Ferreira, and Dan Jurgens on art. This is the Spider-Man Black Costume 40th Anniversary Celebration. Web slings into dark and novel territory. Black, white, and blood style. So then we list a bunch of the people and just little blurbs. They take Peter Parker in the symbiote suit right to the bleeding edge. Spidey shows no mercy. And then we have a bold new take on one of the most iconic chapters of Spider-Man's life. So it's very vague, where they're more hyping up who's creating it than what the stories are here. But these ones people tend to pick up for the art and the style of the muted tones. Chasm, Curse of Cain, number 2 of 4, written by Steve Fox, who has he's writing a lot of things. Then we have Andrea Brocardo on art. Chasm's brain has been manipulated more than once by the Jackal, by the Beyond Corporation, ellipses, but now someone even more terrifying is digging fingers into the brain of poor Ben Reilly, and his only hope, Kane Parker, his fellow Peter Parker clone, who at this moment very much believes that the only solution to Chasm is death. Dress 504, thank you very much. Who's Star? That was a villain that they were created to fight Captain Marvel. Also, have covered Local Man. I have not. But they did a big push with Star, and then Star kind of faded. And now, so it was just like, ooh, Star. Kid Venom. Is that a Peach Momoko variant? I think it is. Yeah, on site. Kid Venom number 2 of 4. Storm. Oh, right. Written by Tegami, doing everything. Storm the gates. New allies join forces to protect the city against the unknown. Could the mysterious item Kintaro found hold the key to the multiverse? If so, only Kid Venom can unlock it. Spider Society. Number 2 of 4. This is written by Alex Segura, and then we have Scott Godalewski on the art. The Sinister Squadron strikes, and things are looking rough for the newly formed Spider Society. This new brutal series goes past the edge of the Spider-Verse with a razor-sharp new edge that isn't going to just introduce new spiders, but will also eliminate them. Spider-Boy, number 11, written by Dan Slott. Then we have Paco Medina on the art. Since the events of last issue when Redacted happened, Spider-Boy's life has been forever changed, and if that wasn't weird enough, it's time to go back to school. No! The next chapter of Bailey Briggs' life starts here, with new cast members and an all-new supervillain. We have a cover that's not here, but it's for Spider-Gwen the Ghost Spider number 5. This is written by Stephanie Phillips, and we have Paolo Villanelli on art. Godzilla variant. This first arc's conclusion will test Gwen in uncomfortable ways. Choices will be made, secrets will be revealed, and we're just getting started. You could say that about anything. Choices will be made, secrets will be revealed. I kind of want to be in a situation where I can just say choices will be made. Like, what are your plans for this quarter? Choices will be made. You're hired. The Spectacular Spider-Men. Number 7. Written by Greg Weisman, and then we have Humberto Ramos on art. The battle of the Spider-Men comes to an end, but now Peter and Miles are face to face with the makers of the Arcadium. Arcadium. I want to say Aracadium because, arachnids. And the people who hired them. If you think there weren't any twists left, meet, is this knave or naive? A truly terrifying new addition to the Spiders Rogues Gallery. How do you pronounce this? Knave? Naive? What do you think? Cast your votes for knave or naive. What do you think? Or something completely different? Miles Morales Spider-Man. Number 24. Written by Cody Ziegler. And then we have Federico Vincentini on the art. Vulture's Vendetta. Spider-Man needs to keep an eye on the sky for the Vulture's attack. Miles Morales' vampiric infection threatens to transform him into a bloodthirsty creature of the night, and his first victim could be the one person both he and Vulture love most in this world. We're finishing off Venom Separation Anxiety by David Michelini, and then we have Gerardo Sandoval on the art. Join or die. Eddie Brock is Venom, or he was. With every passing second, the Purple Man's hold over the symbiote grows, and Eddie's bond and powers weaken. But Eddie can't quit, not when the loss of his partner will mean the loss of every human life on the planet. I'm always a fan of Purple Man stuff, personally. So that's interesting to me. Venomverse Reborn. Number 404, finishing it off. Dan Slott, Justina Ireland, and Al Ewing. Then we have Stephen Byrne, Ken Lashley, and Danilos and Beirut on art. We have lots of people. Nothing but Venoms. The journey across the Venomverse reaches uncharted territory in the wide, weird, and uncanny Marvel universes. Spider Scribe Dan Slott teams up with Stephen Byrne to team Nighthawk up with Venom. Team. Justina Ireland and Ken Lashley travel to the ancient past and never before seen present of a Wakanda force, not vibranium, but of symbiotes. And Al Ewing and Daniel Esperu set the stage for what's to come for the future of the Venomverse. It's not no vibranium, Venoms. Ultraman and the Avengers. Number 204. This is Kyle Higgins and Matt Groom, and then we have Francesco Manna on the art. Our assembled heroes are immediately split up as Captain Marvel and Ultraman team up against two giant rampaging kaiju, while Captain America leads a dangerous extraction mission into the heart of the USP. But they may find their best efforts come too late as our heroes receive the 3-word message that chills the blood of all sentient beings. Galactus is coming. Surprise Galactus. Vengeance of Moon Knight, number 9, which is written by Jed MacKay, and art, we're figuring it out. And we just don't have, it just says classified. It just says classified. Classified. That's great. That goes up there with choices were made. Classified. Choices will be made. Phases of the Moon Knight. Number 204, written by Jed MacKay and Declan Shalvey. Jed MacKay has so much to do. Jorge Fornes and Eder Messias on art. The saga of the Moon Knight spins on as Jed MacKay, writer of the smash hit Moon Knight and Vengeance of the Moon Knight series, revisits vintage Mark Spector with a period piece about peril and punching. Then Declan Shalvey returns to the pages of Moon Knight, only this time he set his sights on the future, introducing an all-new Fist of Khonshu and a crime-ridden vision of a Marvel universe both older, grittier, and worse for wear than any you've seen before. Captain America. Number 13, James Straczynski. And then we have Carlos Magno on art. As the Krakoan era ends, that feels like ancient history after all of these solicits. That sounds like that. When was that? As the Krakoan era ends, mutants need allies more than ever, and Captain America is determined to get his group of mutant change agents to the front door cabaret alive. As death pulls out all the stops to destroy them, Captain America has a choice: protect the change agents or protect his own future. But one of the rescued mutants has their own ideas and intends to make the decision for him. Fantastic Four. Number 25, Ryan North, still on it. And then we have Carlos Gomez on art. Godzilla variant by Greg Land. When an excursion to Latveria magically sends the Fantastic Four to an alien world, they have to work just to survive and make their way back to Earth. But that won't be easy on a world so unlike our own and with an alien civilization hundreds of years behind where we are. And it's not made any easier when Johnny Storm hooks up with one of the aliens there. And that's before this world's terrible secret is revealed, and billions of lives depend on what the Fantastic Four decide next. The Fantastic Four go cosmic in this extra large spectacular. So this runs is it's keeping on, keeping on. It's doing its thing. Oh my goodness, the better YouTuber named Logan. That's so salty on the side there. The Incredible Hulk. His gambling addiction. Number 17. Philip Kennedy Johnson. Then we have Nick Klein on art. The crescendo to Incredible Hulk Legacy number 900 begins 900 begins here with Skin Part 1. In this town, oh, it's skin like skin in the game, not like skin. In this town, it's your skin that defines, oh, it's that kind of skin. I got to keep reading. I'm getting too hype. I look at where our cursor is on this page. That's horrifying. We're in it to win it. In this town, it's your skin that defines you. With Bruce Banner seemingly locked away forever inside the Hulkscape, the Incredible Hulk reaches Sumangaru's prophesied paradise of sin, Las Vegas, where Charlie Tidwell's only hope lies with Eldest and the profane cult of skinwalkers who worship her. Will Eldest keep her end of the bargain and resurrect Charlie? And what will Charlie become on the other side? What happened to Charlie? Death Wish reference. The Immortal Thor. Godzilla variant? Yes. We finally get to see one of these Godzilla variants. This is number 15. It's written by Al Ewing, and then we have Jen Bazaldua on art. Return to Asgard. The reason I'm struggling is because to me it's very small, but I like the size it is on the screen. My glasses aren't doing their job. In a place of darkness, a deeper darkness threatened to claim Thor, one that only the Odin son himself could defeat. And back in the sunshine of Asgard, the Enchantress waited to discuss what Thor owed her and what she held over him. This is the story of the immortal Thor and the responsibilities of power. We have an amazing Spider-Man facsimile with all the ads. We have another facsimile here for Secret Wars. We're up to number 9 of our facsimiles for these. We got Deathlock. Deathlock with the multiple covers for the 50 years. Deathlock 50th anniversary special number 1. Justina Ireland and Christopher Priest writing. And then we have Dale Eaglesham and Dee Cohen, Matthew Waite, Luke Ross on art. Luther Manning became one of Marvel's most recognizable cyborgs as his astonishing tale set the standard for comic book sci-fi and dystopian futures. Now we travel back to the ruins of Manhattan for an action-packed, laser-blasting, building-smashing, explosive adventure uncovering secrets of a world that will excite new and longtime fans. Travel to the world of tomorrow that went horribly wrong, filled with danger around every corner, brutal villains, a reluctant half-man, half-machine hero named Deathlock, and an ending designed to shock your technology-tormented brain. I actually really like the phrase technology-tormented brain. That's pretty cool. Namor. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm thinking about it. Let me think about it. Let me ponder it. It's looking very elfin on this cover. We have this one. It's for something completely different. Namor number 3 of 8, written by Jason Aaron. Then we have Jason Aaron. Then we have Alex Linz and Paul Davidson. They talked about this in the Substack about some of the things they were going to tackle with it. Ben Chan, Namor. No, Namor. 7 kings battle to rule the seas. War has engulfed the undersea realms from the ruins of old Atlantis to the sunken forests of the seaweed men. While in the mysterious depths of the secret seas, Namor's vicious past comes back to haunt him. Scarlet Witch, who I honestly for a second didn't realize was on this cover. I was so distracted by everything happening in the foreground. Scarlet Witch number 4, written by Steve Orlando, and then we have Jacopo Camagni on art. Chaos Unleashed. At the end of all things, the Scarlet Witch shows a new beginning. But as the battle of Lotkill's future rages on, the price of such freedom may prove more monstrous than Wanda bargained for. Daredevil, Woman Without Fear. Number 3 of 4. This is Erica Schultz, who is also writing a lot this month. Then we have Michael Dowling on the art. In the wake of the gang war, Electro Natsios has found herself a pawn in a criminal game, but where the mafiosos manipulating her are rank amateurs, Elektra is the most dangerous and lethal assassin the Marvel Universe has ever known. And while she may have turned over a new non-lethal leaf in recent years, these mobsters and the brutal new Punisher proved to be her greatest challenge yet. Therese, thank you very much. Marvel is charging $5 for facsimiles. Yeah, they charge the same price. So when I was looking up Wolverine number 88, the digital editions also popped up because I was looking up the trades that it was part of as well. And then you saw that the original price was $2.99 American, and then the facsimile is going for $6.99. So it's just they're pricing them at the same price as the regular issues. So let's go down. We're getting there. I see there's light at the end of the tunnel. This is Daredevil. Godzilla variant. I kind of wish we'd seen all the Godzilla variants. I'm kind of into them. We have, okay, this is 13. This is by Saladin Ahmed. And then to be, we're figuring it out. At long last, lovers quarrel. A dangerous and lethal new enemy wearing a familiar face has made itself a known and violent force in the lives of the Daredevils, Matt Murdock and Elektra Natsios. But after so many years of harmony and heroics, life and love, the two Daredevils may have at last reached a breaking point, as the means and lengths they ought to go to dispatch this new enemy may tear them apart forever. Get Fury. Number 5 of 6. This is Garth Ennis. And then we have Jason Burrows on the art. You thought things were looking bleak and rough last issue. You were right, but things get worse for our heroes. This very much is what it is. It's what you expect it to be. Oh, we're at the Star Wars ones. That means we're nearing the end. This is Star Wars Ahsoka. And they're taking a break from the Star Wars ones, and then they're relaunching a bit later. So there's going to be a gap. This is number 3. This is written by Rodney Barnes, and then we have Steve Cummings on the art. Time to fly. Hera tangles with New Republic politics while Ahsoka and Sabine Wren voyage to a distant planet. Short, succinct. Then we have Star Wars, The Acolyte. Many a cover for this. Star Wars, The Acolyte, Kelnaka, Cavan Scott, and then we have Marika Cresta on the art. All right, Cavan Scott and Marika Cresta bring the action as Wookiee Jedi Kelnaka steps into the pages of his own issue. Delve deep into the history of Kelnaka and the world of the High Republic in this bombastic one-shot. Includes an exclusive interview with the actor. Because we could. And we have Star Wars. Toy cover variant thing. Many a cover for this one. Many. Star Wars, because it's number 50. Star Wars number 50. Charles Sewell writing, and then we have Madabek Musabakov on the cover. Giant size Star Wars epic. A 50-page extravaganza, because it's issue 50, but I feel like it could be longer. But then it says here it's 64 pages. I guess those are other things. Jedi Master Luke Skywalker must teach his student Ben Solo a powerful lesson about the true balance between light and dark, and we know how that went. He offers up a tale from the days of the Rebel Alliance that touches on all eras of Star Wars history and brings this epic run to a thrilling, incredible conclusion. Then we have Star Wars Vader. The hands and the lightsaber are odd on this one. I like this one. Star Wars Vader number 50. This is Greg Pak writing. Then we have Raphael Ianco on the art and more. This is the giant-sized Darth Vader epic. The longest-running Darth Vader comic series ever reaches its stunning conclusion as the dark heart of the Sith comes full circle. Darth Vader finally unleashes the unfathomable power he's accumulated through the Schism Imperial against the only person in the galaxy he hates more than he hates himself, Emperor Palpatine. Also featuring the final twists in the saga for key characters like Luke, Leia, Sabe, Ochi, Zed, Sly Moore, the members of the Schism Imperial, and more. All right. Star Wars Inquisitors. We have more books this month. There were less last month. Or maybe they just weren't on the ones that I read, potentially. Oh, I think we're at the trades. This is number 3 of 4. Rodney Barnes writing, and then we have Ramon Rosanas on the art. Destroy the Jedi. Reeling from the death of his master, Tensu Rune commits himself to building a future for the Jedi. Darth Vader tasks the 7th and 9th sisters to draw Jedi Tensu Rune out of hiding and engage in one of the strangest battles ever seen. And now we're doing collections. So we're collecting Daredevil by Bendis, The Man Without Fear. This is volume 2 of the omnibus. So if you're missing that, that is coming for you. 656 pages for $100. Then we have Daredevil. This is the different one. What are we doing with these solicits? Why are you like this? This is just volume 2. Why? Oh, is it a different cover? Are we doing multiple covers for omnibuses now? This is Secret Wars Battle World Omnibus, volume 1. Secret Wars Battle World Omnibus, volume 1. They are doing multiple covers for Omnis now. No, ma'am. No, sir, ma'am. Dark Web, the omnibus. Also with different. Okay. The Amazing Spider-Man by Joe Kelly omnibus. So we have those. We have a Doctor Strange masterwork. We have, this is a variant cover edition. No. I draw the line. This far, no further. If not now, when? Okay, a Marvel Masterworks Kazar, volume 4. And then the variant edition. Blood Hunt. This is the Blood Hunt trade paperback. Already, that was fast. We got that out quick. Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt. Miles Morales Spider-Man, volume 4. It's coming out in trade. Predator. The Last Hunt trade paperback. Alien Black, White, and Blood trade paperback. Ultimate X-Men, this trade I'm looking forward to, and I hope people pick it up. I'm looking forward to it coming out is what I'm trying to say, because I think lots of people I saw were trade waiting. So I'm interested to see what they say once they're done waiting on the trade. Miss Marvel, Mutant Menace, trade paperback. Venomverse Reborn, trade paperback. What If Venom, I like this cover for it a lot, trade paperback. Captain Marvel, what volume is this? 2? Volume 2, trade paperback. Edge of Spider-Verse, Spider Society, trade paperback. Captain America, volume 2. Incredible Hulk, volume 3. Fantastic Four with a very nice cover there, volume 4. Epic Collection, Amazing Spider-Man, Web of Life, Web of Death. That's actually, these are, if you've been keeping up, they're starting to, they're starting to kind of catch up with themselves. So that's good. Ghost Rider, Epic Collection, Salvation Run. I think I need this. I think I might need this one. All right. Epic Collection, Star Wars, The New Republic. Is this another? This is Daredevil Modern Era Epic Collection. We got a lot of collections. Captain America, Modern Era Epic Collection. See, the thing is, when you're collecting now, you got to research. You got to research to see which one you need, what you're missing, what issue numbers you do or don't have. Streets of Poison, which, this includes the story with Captain America clucking like a chicken. So if you don't have that, this is where you can get this right there. Incredible Hulk, Future Imperfect. I love everything about this cover so much. the Marvel Age Treasury Edition. All right. Mighty Marvel Masterworks, The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 5. Then we have the same thing. Because we're seeing the solicitations, right? So these are actually for like, you know, the stores. So we're getting all of the insider tea and scoop. Matthew Prower, thank you very much. Not gonna lie, I really want to see Marvel do a Mooston set comic, a Mousetown set comic. See, I can't read anymore. It's been so long. I am only solicits, and now they have all these. I think that could be fun. Okay, and then okay, are these posters? These are posters. Hey, I'm excited for the fact that there are posters. Posters are great. So some of these covers are going to be posters, and if you were interested in them, you can go through and see what all of these are posters you could pick up. Okay, this is a list of everything. This is just a list. Yeah, because they just full on copy and pasted the solicit to the retailers. We did it. We read all the things. We read all the things. We did it. We survived. We're survivors. So, what do you think? What are you excited for? What do you remember? Were you picking up? What things grabbed you? Did anything intrigue you? If you had to choose between the events of Venom War and all of those X books, what are you picking up? I know, James Bond, before midnight, before everything turns back and the room reverts back to a pumpkin and all of those things. Ben chances think my brain is mush. Okay. We need to gather our things. Definitely the I even remember the number. I think it's X-Men number 4, the It's Your Boy issue. Because you know what? We laughed, but it worked. I remember it. It's sticking inside my brain. Carlito says, weirdly, I was most sold on Miles fighting his girlfriend's grandpa. It does sound like a very Spider-Man moment, I have to say. So definitely some of the X books. I'm planning on keeping up with some of the X books. I don't think the Venom War stuff. Spider-Man, Deadpool. I'm really into Deadpool lately, personally. So like maybe some of the Deadpool stuff. Fantastic Four is keeping on. There's some of my faves, so I'm always keeping tabs on the Fantastic Four. I'm scrolling back up to see like how much. Not as much. Personally, for me, not as much grabbed me about the better YouTuber named Logan is saying, I can't believe you're skipping the zombies. I think DC solicits grabbed me a bit more, just in terms of the absolute power tie-in stuff compared to a bunch of these things. And the next months when we read them are going to be wild, because that's when they're launching a whole bunch of new series. I initially had the title Marvel is Wilden, but then I felt like that was too trying to be hip with the kids, and just because I've heard too many people say it lately, and I'm like, I need to stop. I need to go outside, touch some grass, do all those things. So yes, that was a lot. We got it done before midnight. I found it very interesting, and I always enjoy looking at these. It's way more fun to do it as a group. And I think it's fun to read out the whole thing and see everything. How many times we get the last, the most important edge of your seat battle. I think my favorite line was choices will be made of all of these. Did you have a favorite? Solicit? See, solicit. I can't talk anymore. It's because it was a lot. It was much reading, but it was interesting, especially the Substacks. So I think for now, what was up? Oh yeah, Hands of Omega. What was up with that Mickey Mouse Avengers cover? That was a special. They have a bunch of special variants on. Like I scrolled past a lot of them, but you could see there was a lot of different tie-in things going on, because we had some Dazzlers, we had some Godzillas, there were a couple of Disney variants as well. Like there's a whole host of different like variants going on.
that you could look into. There were so many things. Like, you have choices will be made, as was said in that solicit. But yes, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I don't think I can talk for much more. Sleep must be had. That is a choice that will be made. I'm gonna ask you to smash that subscribe button. That was my favorite solicit for the fun that it gave me. So thank you so much for hanging out and chatting and all of that good stuff. It's always a good time. As always, there are more videos and more streams and more just everything coming soon. So enjoy the rest of your day, night, evening, whatever it is that is going on. And of course, and let me know in the comments what you're thinking about picking up, what you're not thinking about picking up. And have a good night. And I will see you all again soon. All right. Thank you so much. Bye bye.